That when we choose the next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, we need to choose somebody who has a demonstrated track performance. I have a demonstrated performance. I think that should factor in, as well as my policies, in the selection of the next leader.
Does Mr. Trudeau have a demonstrated track performance?
You'll have to talk to Mr. Trudeau. I will only speak for myself, and obviously I do have a proven track record, and I'm going to make sure the Canadians are aware of it. This is not a time to be modest. This is a very serious moment, a very serious crossroads for the Liberal Party. We are doing things right now.
Well, certainly I am not regarded in the same way as I was in 2006. It's fun to be one of the front runners now. It's interesting now to have been elected a few times, to have had 4 different shadow cabinet roles, very senior ones, incredibly good experience. So yes, I come to the table 6 years later with an awful lot more experience than I did in 2006, and very proud of that. Can't keep saying the same things and hope that our fortunes will change. We've been saying a lot of the right things for several years. The challenge is that we have a real need to prove it to Canadians. And so when we as Liberals say that we want to ensure that we use evidence-based, we have evidence-based policy, that we use science and research to make those determinations, we need to walk the walk.
I don't believe I was more willing to take off the gloves. Perhaps some people were not reticent to discuss issues. There's a number of issues at play, and I think I'm really looking forward to the next debates when people have assessed who we are, why we're doing it. I'm from the grassroots. I think the Liberal Party has to stop grasping at straws to bring back victory without earning it the old-fashioned way. I've earned everything in my life the old-fashioned way. Hard work, perseverance, determination, meeting and listening to people, and changing the course. And I'll do the same, and hopefully you'll have more questions for me next time.
We need to have some tough decisions. And I want to look not 2 years down the road, but I want to look 5 and 10 years down the road. And it's when we talk about progress and building the kind of Canada we want, I mean, we see that short-term thinking. It's throughout politics. It's the way it's done. It's short-term political advantage, and I've seen this country sliced and diced for it, and it really, we have to stop. You know what I heard up on stage? There's a lot of people that we have to do the tough work, and we have to reconnect with Canadians and give them that confidence and give them that trust by saying, we are there to serve you, we're here for you.
When I hear a candidate talking about how many elections we've talked about the same things, brought good policies forward and had disappointing results, and that has to change, well, that's what I'm saying. It has to change. So if we do the same thing as we've done in the past, we may just get the same result. So my plan is about building the Liberal Party as its leader, and also working with progressive Canadians across the country in that one-time cooperation, so we can actually do electoral reform after 2012, because we'll have defeated Stephen Harper. I see this as being a way that we can nominate candidates right across the country, Liberal candidates, and then we can work together with the other parties just in those ridings where the Conservatives win by splitting the vote. We saw that happen in Calgary Centre, and we Liberals were certainly very disappointed at the outcome of that election. So how do we prevent that from happening again? In 50 to 60 ridings across the country, we can prevent it by running a single progressive candidate. That's what I'm proposing to do, and that's how we will defeat Stephen Harper in 2015.
I think the one thing that we have to realize is the Liberal Party is in a position of tremendous challenges right now. We have an awful lot of work to do to reconnect with Canadians, and it's not enough to just stand at a podium and toss out great ideas. We have to be active on the ground and draw people into the party and engage with them and win over their hearts, their minds, and their belief that we can have a strong future once again. That's what I'm doing right across the country. That's what I've been successful at doing in Papineau in some very tough elections, and that's what the Liberal Party needs to continue. You need to have a price on carbon. Colluding cannot be free. Now, there are multiple mechanisms with which we can approach that, and I'm not going to short-circuit a very serious policy discussion about the mechanisms we need to move forward on. So I'm not coming down on any particular mechanism yet. We're going to talk talk about it over the coming years with industry, with community partners, with organizations, with scientists, look at different jurisdictions, what works here in BC, what works elsewhere. We're going to figure out the best way to move forward, not to polarize politics and argue about things, but to build a better country that is sustainable in its environmental approach. I am completely closed to any sort of cooperation with the NDP. We don't need just to get rid of this government. We need to replace it with a better government. And that happens with a Liberal Party that is ready and committed to reach out to all Canadians, not write off Liberals who happen to live in unheld ridings that are held by Conservatives. The work that we have to do is connecting and putting a strong alternative forward for Liberals.
And again, Harper just doesn't get the huge economic potential. It's like we're a car stuck in first gear, simply focusing on natural resources. If we make them cleaner, that's our second gear. If we then do high-tech manufacturing, that's our third gear. When we do knowledge-based businesses, we're in fourth gear. And we will be the envy of the world when we can get to that position. But green is an important part of that.
You know what? A province is never overrepresented in a race. I believe, as I said, we as a party have a very unique occasion to have a fantastic discussion to renew our party, to prepare ourselves as well to face the next election. And all the candidates that you saw this afternoon are very good quality candidates. And I'm sure that, throughout the race, you're going to see people that are going to be talking and exchanging in order to make sure that we will build a nice platform. So in other words, what's interesting for the party and as well for Canada is that means that moving forward, we're going to have fantastic debate, and we're going to end with fantastic policies as well for the country. Thanks.